Undercover capacity on January 6th, how many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I thought I heard you say you didn't know whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
The director was hiding something, so Congress asked the question a different way. Listen.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Ray,
confidential human
gentleman's time.
Oh my God.
So there's something I wanted to share with y'all on this January 6th situation, because we just heard that the head of the FBI, I believe it's the head of the FBI, he walked away yesterday, right? I believe he walked away. Is it Chris Ray? I know his last name's Ray, but I want to share this video with y'all and get y'all thoughts on this. This is about January 6th. So if you're one of those people that get annoyed with talking about January 6th, bear with me. I'm not going to tell you to leave, but please just bear with me. This may be some information that you didn't know about. I didn't know about this. We heard about this before, but to me, at least in my opinion, it was always
again, I'm not sure
shut
that
down as something that wasn't a real thing, and apparently, it just came out as being a real thing. And what is that thing?
Fox News alert, the Justice Department just released the bombshell report that we've been waiting for. What actually happened on January 6th? The FBI had 26 confidential human sources there that day. 26. A confidential human source is a guy the FBI pays to spy for them. Of the 26 confidential human sources who were in D.C. on Jan 6th, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol. So more than a dozen FBI spies participated in the so-called insurrection. A bunch of them broke into the Capitol. Their own inspector general says this is what happened. But that's not what they told you when they testified under oath.
Those who were there in an
And see, this is, I want us to be careful about, or not be careful, but just like, what's your mindset going into this, listening to this? Like, you may take away the fact that January 6th was wrong, it was right. Let's move beyond that. This is just to highlight certain stuff in the government, and maybe it's fitting that we're playing it after the UFO videos. They will lie to us. They will mislead us. They're not going to tell us the entire story. Maybe their mindset is like, hey, we can't tell, the common folk everything because then it'll just be too dangerous. There's certain things that we need to just keep to ourselves, not report on, and just go from there. But then you have situations like this that expose the things that they once told us or kept from us are now being put out there. So I don't know if this is going to be the situation if Trump decides to uncover some of these 9/11 files or uncover some of the JFK documents. I don't know. Maybe what's my guy Cash? Maybe he's going to push to have a lot of stuff uncovered. I want some stuff uncovered with Malcolm X. I want to know about Martin Luther King Jr. There's a lot of stuff that I want to know who was truly behind this stuff. And I know that it may cause some issues within the country, may cause some uproar and everything else like that. But me personally, I want to know the truth. So listen to this situation.
undercover capacity on January 6th, how many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I thought I heard you say you didn't know whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
The director was hiding something, so Congress asked the question a different way. Listen.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Ray,
confidential human
gentleman's
sources.
time.
Ray's right. The FBI didn't have undercover agents at January 6th. They had confidential human sources. So what's the difference? Well, a confidential human source doesn't get health insurance or a pension. They're just freelancing for the feds. Rats in MAGA hats. They're basically paid informants that the FBI runs out of headquarters. A lot of these FBI rats.
I tell you what, what comes to mind for me, I don't know about with y'all, but if they had confidential informants involved in this, one of the things that I think about is, well, what was their involvement? Were they instigating certain things? Were they going along with it? Why were they never charged? What's the story behind all this? I need to know. I want to know, because I don't know. There's not enough information out there for me to kind of have a strong opinion one way or another. But as I'm processing it, I do have a whole lot of questions. I have a lot of questions with this. January 6th is known as an insurrection, right? Okay, so if you're telling me that government informants participated in this insurrection, does that change how we're looking at it? Does that change if we can actually call it an insurrection? Does that change? Should those people that were involved undercover, that were involved in the insurrection, be exposed? Should they be identified? Can we get those names out there? Maybe they're scared of us interviewing them. Maybe they don't want to keep those names a secret because they're scared of what those people may actually come out and tell, maybe as whistleblowers. I don't know. But when you say one thing, when you're asked a question about whether or not there's government informants, here you are, the director of the FBI. The director of the FBI, and you're sitting here saying, well, we don't know if I don't know if they were, there, or I'm not saying that they were there or they weren't there. I don't know if, to my understanding, nobody was there. They're playing games with us. They're playing games with us. And for me, this actually leans it more to the argument of on Trump's side. When you start to question whether or not, I don't know how you guys feel about Nancy Pelosi not allowing the military to or holding off. I know there's some stories where it seems like, well, Nancy Pelosi held off. She didn't respond quick enough. And you're wondering why this thing escalated, why it was allowed to escalate to the point that it did without any maybe military engagement earlier on, when Trump, I guess, said that he gave the green light for the military to get involved and to end any non-peaceful protest or to engage with them. So all these thoughts, and you're kind of hearing them in real time for me, these are all the questions that I have on my mind. And for people to not to have these questions, it kind of, I guess there'd be a lot of people that just go along with whatever the government said. If you're a Biden fan, then you'll probably side with this Director Ray, because that was the Biden head of the FBI. So all of these things coming up, I got questions for him. How can you call it an insurrection? If it was an insurrection, right? Y'all like to call it an insurrection. Right? That's what all the Democrats and liberals say. If it was an insurrection, then we need some answers on these as far as the involvement in these undercover officers or undercover informants from the FBI, working with the FBI. We need to know the involvement that they had in January 6th. I want to know that. Do y'all want to know that? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Let's keep going. Where are we? Here we go.
Get picked up on some other charge. They get sat down and the FBI says, you're going to work for me now. And if you don't, you're looking at 20 years to life. So these guys say, yes, sir. And they cozy up to people like the Proud Boys and anyone the feds wants to watch and control from the inside. And these confidential human sources are under pressure to deliver. What does deliver mean? It means intelligence and big busts that get the FBI good headlines. According to the Inspector General report, the spies were feeding the FBI intel that said January 6th was going to get a little hairy. But FBI headquarters did nothing about it and then lied to Congress and said they did. So why did headquarters let January?
All right, so Mark, I hope y'all are paying attention to the comments because Mark is giving out some game, man. Mark is giving out some game. So Mark said that the crowd was peaceful till the cops started lobbing percussion grenades, shooting rubber bullets, and throwing people around. Then they let them in the doors while Antifa was smashing windows. This is something that was always interesting to me. The videos that I saw, they let them in the building. And you know that guy that had all the face paint? He's kind of like the popular one. They allowed him to stage pictures. Didn't they even pray with the cops? I feel like I saw a video of them coming together and praying with the cops. So I was always confused. I'm like, what are these videos that I'm seeing? Why does everything look so peaceful? They're allowing them in the building. Everything's running smoothly compared to how it's being presented to us as an insurrection. I was just always confused by it. Let's, Uncle Brother wrote, the perception of January 6th as being an insurrection was entirely the result of an intelligence psyop. I agree. I never believed that January 6th was an insurrection. I just never, it never made sense to me. It's like, I always felt like, yo, why are they trying to make this out to be something that it wasn't, but why are they pushing so hard trying to convince people that it was this? So, and a lot of people do believe that it was an insurrection. But the videos that I was watching, it just didn't add up to me. I just couldn't make sense of it. So let's keep going. Let's keep going.
January 6th gets so out of hand. And what were all these FBI spies doing that day and the days before? Were they riling everyone up like they did in the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot? In that case, the FBI informants instigated the plot. They even used an FBI credit card to buy the ammo, supplies, and hotel rooms. Did the FBI pay for Jan 6 hotel rooms? We don't know. Remember, the media and the Democrats said this whole thing was a conspiracy.
Where do you think this idea comes from, that this was somehow done by the feds?
I heard that one of the debaters said it was an inside job. Is an inside job on the part of Donald Trump and his henchmen.
Republicans have blamed the FBI and said it was.
Oh, Nancy.
The debater said it was an inside job. Is an inside job on the part of Donald Trump and his henchmen.
Republicans have blamed the FBI and said it was an inside job.
It certainly was not an inside job by FBI agents or Antifa. They go around blaming it on Antifa and FBI agents.
Well, how did the media know it wasn't an inside job when the FBI had 26 of their people on the inside?
Yo, I just gotta say this. Like, look, I feel like I have to continue saying it because if you are a Democrat, consider yourself liberal, consider yourself progressive, whatever term you want to use, even if you consider yourself independent and you saw January 6th as an insurrection and you thought Donald Trump, that you blame it. If you thought all those things, is it okay to take a step back and to look at it from a different perspective? Is it okay to, with new information, to maybe search for a new understanding of what actually happened? Is it okay to consider other things that we may have looked at as like, oh, that just sounds crazy talk? Is it okay to consider a lot of these things? That would be the question that I ask. Is it okay? Because I know it's very hard for people to change their opinions. Once people are they dig their heels in the ground, dig their cleats in the ground, whatever it is. Once they do so, it becomes very hard to make any adjustments, to see things from a different point of view. My ask would be for all of us need to do that, because that's what keeps us, in my opinion, hating each other, so divisive, doing the exactly what the powers that be want us to do, fight rather than us working together and realizing like, damn, if anybody's oppressing us, it's not us going against each other. It's actually the people up there that are wanting us to fight. So therefore they can use these distractions that y'all have pointed out the entire show to confuse us and to keep our minds off of what's actually happening. On both sides, we need to be okay with acknowledging, hey, I may have been totally wrong seeing it the way that I was seeing it. Even the things that I'm so strong on right now. There was something that just happened in my family where I was so strong and clear talking to my dad about something. And then when I spoke to a couple other people, it was so clear that I was seeing it like a different way. Like, I'm like, damn, I called my dad immediately. And I'm like, yo, I actually think nah, I don't understand how I was so clear 2 hours ago on something, but now I'm so clear on it, looking at it from a different perspective. Is it okay to do that? Can we all do that? That's the only way we're going to grow. We don't have infinite time on this planet. So to figure stuff out, these powers that be, these influences that we have working against us, that do not have our best interests at heart, the faster we can solve some of these problems and solve our perspectives, the closer we can get to this enlightenment that's going to allow us to protect ourselves, maybe from getting bamboozled and getting brainwashed and manipulated the way that we have been.
January 6th certainly benefited the media, the FBI, and the Democrats. 1,500 arrests, humiliated Trump, got him impeached, criminalized the MAGA movement. Trump got indicted over January 6th, remember? They tried to throw him in prison over this. The January 6th committee, it's all Democrats did for 2 years. Why didn't the committee find any of these snitches? They did a one-sided investigation and teamed up Garland to charge Trump so they could run against a convicted felon. So the media is going to apologize.
Hold up. That's a good question, man. Y'all doing all this stuff to try to throw Trump under the bus, try to indict Trump, try to throw him in jail, trying to prevent him from running again, all these different things. And y'all just now uncovering the fact that there were 26 of your agents that were in the building.
That's right.
That were involved on the ground in this. And even like Nancy Pelosi, she's talking about, people are saying that it was an FBI insider job. Yeah, it was an insider job by Donald Trump. You don't think that that's misleading to not acknowledge the fact that there were FBI informants that were involved? Informants?
No. The media today is cherry picking the report.
Wow, look at that.
There were no undercover agents there on January 6th. The whole thing's a conspiracy. These aren't articles, they're FBI press releases. And they wonder why their ratings aren't articles.
This is why nobody trusts the news. Look at ABC. Probe finds no evidence feds were involved in inciting January 6th attack. CNN. No undercover FBI agents were at the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot, Watchdog reports. Politico. FBI didn't deploy undercover agents on January 6th, Watchdog report finds. Undercutting conspiracy theories. They always try to label a conspiracy theory when they're being called out on something that they actually did. That's their go-to. It's a conspiracy theory. And a lot of us actually buy into it. Why? Because it aligns with our political agenda and the person that we want to vote for as president. This is why nobody believes the news. And a lot of people will sit back and say, well, hey, they were just reporting on, the stuff that came out. Be better journalist. Because if I come on here and say something and say, well, I was just reporting on what I heard. Donald Trump was and JD Vance, they were just reporting on what they heard about the Haitians eating cats and dogs, right? They were just reporting what they heard. They were talking to the people in Ohio. So they're supposed to be held to a certain standard that the news stations are not held to, right? So we have no problem condemning them. And maybe they should be condemned for it, according to you or according to whoever, right? But why is that energy so different when it comes to the news? Did the news come out and say that they are wrong about this? Let's see if ABC, if CNN, if Politico now come out and say that they were wrong about the statements that they previously made on January 6th.
They're FBI press releases. And they wonder why their ratings are trash and no one trusts them. It's because of this. They don't want the truth. They want to hide it if it hurts the left. And they can't admit they were wrong because it's too embarrassing. And they were a part of the cover-up. But the FBI is worse than the media. The FBI knew what was in this report. They covered it up before the election. And then the director says he's resigning the day before it comes out. Give me a break. This kind of sliminess is why Trump nominated Kash Patel. I wonder what else Kash is going to find in the bureau when he looks under the hood.
As a former federal prosecutor and a public defender who defended a lot of these types of cases, what you need to show is whether or not the FBI and government agents were using undercover operatives and informants on the day of January 6th. Once you prove that, then you defeat the insurrection narrative with the FBI's own documentation.
And what is the...
Oh, do we need to hear that again?
What else, Kash?
This is likely going to be the new FBI director. America, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're in for things are finna change. I don't know what that means, but maybe it's just what Cat Williams said, man. The truth is coming to light in 2024. Maybe that just set the seed for everything else to flourish in 2025, because it seems like a lot of things are getting ready to be exposed when Trump gets in office, or perhaps they're already being exposed.
Looks under the hood.
As a former federal prosecutor and
let me say this. Could you imagine if Kamala Harris won? A lot of this information that hopefully is exposed with Donald Trump winning would never be exposed. Let's just be real. If Kamala Harris won, if Joe Biden won, a lot of this information, do you think that the FBI director would have walked away from his position? Do you think that they would have? They're getting nervous. They're getting nervous. These people that Trump is bringing in, like Kash Patel, they're making them nervous. They're making them nervous. And perhaps that's why Joe Biden is considering all these pardons, these blanket pardons for people that haven't even been charged with anything. Shouldn't that raise kind of a little bit of a red flag? Like I said, even if you voted for Democrats, even if you voted for Kamala Harris, even if you consider yourself a Democrat, step back from your party. Use your own common sense. You may not think the same way that I'm thinking. I'm not saying use common sense and you'll believe the same thing that I believe. I'm not saying that. But just use your own common sense and take your own journey of enlightenment and questioning and processing all this new information. Use your own common sense. Don't think the way that I think. Matter of fact, use your common sense and then come back to this conversation and bring something to it. Bring your individual perspective on it based on your experience in the world. But just don't sit back and totally disregard all this stuff because it's Donald Trump's team. When we do that, we're going to continue this cycle that we've been in for a very long time of just going political party. Oh, I'm red, I'm blue. And then nothing ever gets done because we just keep fighting each other.
A public defender who defended a lot of these types of cases, what you need to show is whether or not the FBI and government agents were using undercover operatives and informants on the day of January 6th. Once you prove that, then you defeat the insurrection narrative with the FBI's own documentation.
And what does this report do to the January 6th defendants? None of the confidential informants were arrested or charged. These guys were right alongside everyone walking into the Capitol. But you're in prison for years? Now, if you're a defense attorney for a Jan 6er and this drops after the case was decided, that could change everything. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley says this, quote, "There is a question of why the confidential human sources who entered the Capitol were not charged as part of an operation that the Justice Department described as an effort to shock and awe, targeting everyone involved that day. This report does not find specific wrongdoing or direction from confidential human sources in the rioting. Congress, however, is likely to seek more information on these sources and their conduct on the day." Are you allowed to commit crimes as a spy for the FBI and not get charged? Because they said this was the greatest attack on democracy ever. They said it was up there with 9/11. Traitors, they said, seditionists, they're off scot-free. You can try to overthrow the government if you're an FBI rat and just walk away? Congress has to find out. And what does this mean for pardons? I mean, the Hunter Biden pardon already.
Please make sure that you like for the algorithm. That's going to boost the algorithm and get as many different people in here engaging in these conversations. So please make sure that you like. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Greased the runway for Trump, but this reports all the ammo Trump needs. He told Time magazine, it's going to start in the first hour, maybe the first 9 minutes. Now, if I were president, I don't think I'd pardon J6ers who were slugging cops, but if you were wandering around peacefully, come on. And it's not just Kash Patel that's going to clean house. Tulsi's on deck.
I'm here with Tulsi Gabbard. She's here on the Hill meeting with my colleagues. She's going to be a great DNI, Director of National Intelligence. It's a really important job. It oversees all of our intelligence agencies, and it's in need of reform. I think everybody would admit that, and so we need to bring in a reformer.
Now, the deep state's never been this backed into a corner, ever. We have Trump assassination files that we want to release, JFK assassination files, COVID files, Epstein, Diddy. What about that pipe bomb? Is the FBI still working on that one? Who planted that? It's just another conspiracy theory that you were right about. The lab leak, the laptop, and now Jan 6. No wonder Biden's under pressure to dish out more pardons.
And we gotta highlight this. A lot of us were called conspiracy theorists when we bring a lot of these things up that he just mentioned. A lot of this stuff. And a lot of these conspiracy theories, quote unquote conspiracy theories, are now coming out to have a lot of truth behind them. Whether it's the laptop, whether it was the Wuhan lab, whether it was stuff with the vaccine, a lot of this stuff, whether it's January 6th, with having the FBI involvement, all of these things that were considered conspiracy theories are now being validated and confirmed. What does that say? What does that say? If, like I said, if you are a Democrat, are you just going to think the same way that you thought before this information came out? Or are you going to challenge yourself to look at it from a different perspective, to look at it without maybe the bias and hatred of just hating Trump? Are you going to be able to look at this from a different lens because they're manipulating you more than they're manipulating the conservatives because y'all are their supporters?
Who knows how high this thing goes?
It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.